Part 1. Debt and Chaos. You wake up in the morning and immediately feel a weight. Not a physical one, but a financial one. Your phone flashes with messages from the bank. Payment reminder. In your mailbox, another bill waits. And you know that today, once again, you'll be counting every penny, postponing everything you can. Your paycheck disappeared long ago. Part of it went to rent, another part to utilities, and the rest quietly vanished. Snacks, taxis, purchases that didn't seem that big, but together they ate almost everything. And then there's the credit card debt, pressing down on you like a stone. You live paycheck to paycheck, sometimes even in the negative. After work, you go to the store just to buy bread and come out with a bag full of extras. Only at home do you realize you spent more than you planned. This chaos in your wallet spills over into your life. You often deny yourself rest, can't calmly plan for the future. Anxiety constantly sits in your mind. What if my phone breaks tomorrow? Or I get sick and need medicine? And this anxiety drains you almost as much as work itself. On weekends, you sometimes sit down with a calculator, trying to create a budget. But after 5 minutes, you give up because the numbers don't add up, and despair creeps in. Am I going to live like this my whole life? In the evenings, you scroll through social media and see others traveling, buying cars, saving for their own homes. Their photos are bright. Yours is a negative balance on your card, and a feeling arises that life is passing you by. You tell yourself, I just don't earn enough. If I made more, everything would be different. But deep down, you feel that even if a few hundred extra dollars were added, they would disappear too, because the problem isn't just the amount of money. One day you go into a cafe. You order a latte and a croissant. Spend a few dollars without thinking. But then suddenly you catch yourself. What if I added up all these little things over a month? How much would that be? And that question feels like a pin in your brain. That evening you sit and start recalling coffee, taxis, snacks, a new phone case, the 5th subscription to a service you barely use. And gradually it becomes clear that it's these small things that are burning through your budget. This realization is unpleasant, but it becomes the first step, because at this moment, you understand. You are not just losing money, you are losing control. You start to see that money is not just paper or numbers on a screen. It's energy you manage. And when you don't control this energy, it disappears, dissolves. And as long as this continues, you will always be in a state of chaos. You feel a little scared, but at the same time curious. What would happen if you at least tried to take control? You don't yet know that this small step will change everything.
Part 2. The turning point. You had been avoiding answers for a long time. Every time the thought, I need to get my finances in order, popped into your head, you pushed it away, because you knew the truth wouldn't be pleasant. But that evening, after coffee and a croissant, something changed. That feeling, that small things are eating your life, wouldn't let go. You opened your phone and for the first time downloaded an expense tracking app, just out of curiosity. You thought, how hard can it be? Everyone says you just need to write things down. And you started, at first awkwardly. You logged coffee, taxis, groceries. You felt a strange irritation, as if someone was watching you. But after a week, it became fascinating. When you opened the app and saw the numbers, you were shocked. You had spent almost as much on transportation as on food. Snacks and treats cost more than your bills. And subscriptions, well, the total could have bought a new jacket. You sat staring at those numbers, and inside, something stirred. You always thought the problem was a low salary, but now it was obvious. The problem was chaos, the lack of control. You felt something you hadn't felt in a long time: hope. If money is leaking through small things, maybe it can be stopped? Maybe the solution is closer than you think and simpler than it seems. Over the next few days, you kept logging your expenses. Gradually, patterns emerged. Mondays, always a coffee to go. Wednesdays, taxi because you overslept. Fridays, dinner to treat yourself. It was like you were decoding your own life. And the code revealed your spending wasn't random. It was habits. Automatic, invisible habits controlling you. And if you change the habits, the money changes too. This realization was a turning point. For the first time, you felt control is possible. You started experimenting. One day, instead of taking a taxi, you walked. Saved a little, but felt the power of choice. The next day, you brought a thermos with coffee. Again, some savings. Small steps, but they gave a strange sense of strength. Each day, it grew stronger. I can control money, not the other way around. But it wasn't all simple. There were slip-ups. You promised yourself not to spend and impulsively bought something anyway. Each time, disappointment followed. Before, you just forgot. Now, the app showed you black on white. But that became part of the process. You weren't burying your head in the sand anymore. You faced the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was, gave power. A month passed. When you tallied up, it was clear expenses had decreased. Not drastically, but for the first time in a long while, you had money left at the end of the month. A small amount, but it felt like a victory. You remember that evening, sitting with your phone, looking at the numbers and smiling. This wasn't just saving, it was proof that you could change your life. You realized the main thing. Financial chaos is not a sentence. It's just the result of habits and lack of control. And that means it can be broken. That evening, you made a decision. There's more ahead. You will learn not just to track expenses, but to manage money. Because now you know, the path to freedom begins with control.
Part 3. New rules. After discovering the truth about your spending, it became clear. Tracking alone was good, but not enough. To stop finances from weighing you down, something had to change systematically. And you began creating your own rules, small but very important. The first rule was the 50-30-20 rule. You were told 50% of income goes to necessities, rent, food, bills, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings. At first it sounded complicated, but you decided to try, and immediately noticed, when everything is divided into categories, it's easier to control every dollar. You introduced another rule: plan purchases in advance. Previously, you just walked into a store and bought whatever caught your eye, or simply because you wanted it. Now, before every shopping trip, you made a list. And it worked. Sudden expenses dropped sharply. You also learned to save money automatically. Every month, 20% of your income went straight to savings. And even if the amount seemed small at first, you realized it would gradually grow. This gave a strange but incredibly pleasant feeling of control. You began tracking small expenses: takeout coffee, snacks, unnecessary subscriptions. Every time you felt the urge to buy impulsively, you asked yourself, do I really need this, or is it just a habit? And you were surprised how much spending you could avoid with just that one question. Gradually, the first results appeared. Free money emerged. At first small, but it gave you a sense of freedom. You could buy a book you'd long wanted, or go to the movies without guilt, and that feeling was amazing. You realized money isn't just for survival, it can work for you. You decided to invest in yourself and your opportunities. You bought a few online courses, started reading books on financial literacy, and listened to podcasts from people who had already walked this path. Another important rule became tracking progress. Every week, you sat down to see where the money went, what you saved, and what could be improved. This became a ritual, a small review that gave a sense of control and a plan for the future. There were difficulties, of course. Sometimes you bought something unnecessary, broke the rules, and felt frustrated. But you learned not to punish yourself, but to analyze. What went wrong? Why did this happen again? And fixed it the next week. These mistakes didn't break the system, they helped improve it. After a few months, you noticed the habits had become natural. You no longer thought about every purchase, automatically tracked expenses, planned purchases, and saved money. Every step gave a sense of confidence. You no longer feared bills or unexpected costs. Most importantly, you realized the link between habits and results. You didn't need to take extraordinary steps to change your life. It was enough to gradually change small daily actions. This revelation forever changed your relationship with money. Now, evenings were no longer stressful when checking your balance. Instead, they brought a sense of control and calm. Every dollar was under your supervision, giving a true feeling of freedom. You understood rules aren't about restrictions, they're about power. They help you use money wisely, avoid unnecessary spending, and invest in the future. And that became the new foundation of your life.
Part 4. Mindset Shift. After learning to control your spending, you felt your first real freedom. But money was no longer just numbers in your account. You began to understand its essence. Money is a tool you can use to improve your life, create opportunities, and not just survive paycheck to paycheck. This realization was a turning point. You understood that controlling expenses is only half the battle. The other half is how to earn and grow wealth. You began thinking about opportunities, not limitations. The first step was learning. You bought books on investing, listened to financial literacy podcasts, watched lectures from people who had achieved financial independence. Every day, 20 to 30 minutes of immersion, and your mind began thinking differently. You realized money is not magic or luck. It depends on your decisions, habits, and courage to act. You started keeping a list of ideas for earning extra income, analyzing them, choosing realistic options, and gradually implementing them. You also learned to see risk as a tool. Before, any step into something new caused fear. What if it goes wrong? Now you viewed mistakes as lessons. Every attempt, even if it didn't bring instant results, provided valuable experience and knowledge. Another discovery: your self-worth no longer depended on salary or the amount of money in your wallet. What mattered now was the value you created. People pay for your skills, competence, and problem-solving ability. And the more you develop, the more money becomes available to you. You began planning your financial future. You created monthly and yearly budgets and started a 5-year plan. Now you had goals. Build an emergency fund, invest part of your income, travel, or buy things without fear. Understanding assets versus liabilities became crucial. You no longer bought things that merely ate money. Every investment, every purchase had to work for you, and this gave you a sense of power and control. You felt that life had become predictable, yet full of opportunities. Previously, every penny caused stress. Now, money worked for you, and you worked on yourself, your skills, and your possibilities. Another key lesson: stop comparing yourself to others. You saw people flaunting cars, houses, vacations. Before, this sparked envy and disappointment. Now you knew their success is not your goal. Your goal is to use what you have efficiently and gradually build the life you want. Then a miracle happened. Opportunities began appearing naturally. Someone offered a side job, you discovered a new business idea, met people who shared valuable advice. Money became not only the result of effort, but a logical outcome of the right mindset. This changed you forever. You no longer feared taking responsibility for money. You understood control is good, but understanding and active thinking are even stronger. And this mindset became the foundation of your new life. Evenings were no longer about anxiously checking your balance. Now you looked at it with a sense of power. You knew money is a tool, and now you know how to use it.
Part 5. Freedom and a new level of life. Several months have passed since you began changing your financial habits. Now you sit in your apartment, looking at your balance, and feel a sense of calm you haven't felt in a long time. Money is no longer a source of stress. It has become a tool that provides freedom, opportunities, and control over your life. You reflect on your journey. Previously, every month was a struggle for survival. Now, you have a financial cushion that allows you to breathe easily. You know that tomorrow, even if something unexpected happens, you can handle it. This peace of mind is priceless. You've also begun investing and growing your money. You've learned the basics of investing, acquired your first assets, and set aside funds for the future. And every time you see money working for you, you feel pride and confidence. But the biggest change is in your mindset. You no longer just think about earning more. You think about the value you create, the freedom of choice, and how to use money to develop yourself and your life. You no longer work only for a paycheck. You build a life where money serves you. The sense of freedom extends to other areas of life. You can afford travel, courses, new skills, and meetings with interesting people. Now your decisions are conscious, not dictated by fear or scarcity. Another important lesson: you've learned to value your time. Previously, you spent hours on meaningless purchases or small expenses that drained your energy. Now, every step is planned. Every action has purpose, and this allows you to do more, earn more, and feel more satisfaction from life. You realize that financial literacy isn't just about money itself. It's about control, freedom, and responsibility. It gives you the ability to live without fear, plan ahead, and create a life on your own terms. You look at yourself in the mirror and no longer see the tired, confused person running from paycheck to paycheck. You see a confident individual managing your life, your time, and your finances. You know money is no longer a problem, it's a tool to achieve your goals. And that feeling, that sense of mastery, is the greatest gift. You now know that even small daily steps, daily control, and the right mindset can radically change your life. From chaos and fear to freedom, confidence, and opportunities. Your life has changed forever. And this is just the beginning.